Hi everyone. Welcome back to Grandpa Mark's Hobbies and build update number 6. That's, I think, the most I've ever done with a single build before of the Revell 70 Plymouth Roadrunner. This is going to be a 2-kit build, an old and a new. We're working on the new now. Everybody's been jumping in. They've been busy as heck with this one since the last update, so let me move them out the way and we'll talk about it. Even our stormtrooper's danging around because he's so into this. And Zach brought in treats for the pups today, so they just won't let him alone. So let me bring you down here a little bit. And you see I'm using my old mat. And that's because for some reason, my camera does not like yellow. So I did some color shifting. You can see my hands are a little green. It is more yellow than what you're seeing out of the orange. This is lemon yellow. I don't understand why the camera's doing that, but it is what it is. So anyhow, let's get started here. I still can't find my finger. I packed it and now it's lost. But you see, like in the last video I talked about, I got all the trim painted. I hand painted all the chrome using Tamiya's chrome silver. And I did that just because I was doing everything else with this pretty much by hand. So I wanted to keep going. And then I decided that there would have been no way for me to get this stripe laid down across that hood without getting wrinkles all over it. So I opted to paint the center stripe on with just Tamiya's, let me grab it here, semi-gloss black X18, and I masked everything off, and then I masked the hood off, and then I put the hood in place, and I got the line pretty close on the top, and I masked that off. Then I masked the whole body. I painted that. I let that dry overnight, and I honestly thought about laying these secondary stripes in and painting them, and I thought, why? They're flat, they're easy, so I just cut those off of the main black decal and laid them in. And then, of course, there was some touching up to do. Let me pull this out of here. Right in here where this rolls over the top, the decals didn't. So I hand painted that, and I hand painted in between the windshield wipers where it come all the way up to the top of the glass. Not sure if that's the way it really was or not, but that's the way I wanted it. It just didn't look right coming up and stopping right at the windshield wiper. So I painted in between the blades right here where the openings are and brought that all the way up, and then again rolled it down. Like this doesn't have it, where I just stopped right here. That's where the decals stop. But on here, they did the same thing. So I just hand painted that roll off coming in there. And then I figured, well, I got the decals out and I got my hot water brewing. So I went ahead and I did all the decals on here. Just getting ready for the clear. And I never liked that full stripe running down into the little vent here. I never liked that. And a lot of these I've seen just had the little Roadrunner and a little tiny puff of smoke in it like that. So that's what I did with mine, is I cut that off, and I'm really happy with that. That gives it a lot cleaner look, and I'm, yellow with that brown mark on there. I just didn't care for it. And speaking of that, I did use the decals for the turn signals because the way they're just easy. They look good, and they look better than what I could do painting them. So I did that. We got the Roadrunner decal across the back, and with the Plymouth hand painted in there, this just came out good. And what I did with this is I laid it in here. I got it to where it was dry and sturdy, and then I took my X-Acto blade and laid it on the line where the trunk comes down and just rolled it. I didn't slice it, I rolled it and cut through that decal so that it would conform into those grooves. And I did that on both sides. I found that if you try to slice it down, you might move the decal towards the slice, but if you roll it in there, it just cuts through real good, as long as you got a good sharp blade. But the decals took me a little longer than I thought. The little grabber decal was kind of a bear. And I ended up, when I cut them off, I cut them as close to the red as I mean, right on the red. But just they're so tiny and come to a point that it had to be just in the exact right spot. So I still have to paint the underside of this semi-gloss black, but that'll be easy enough. And I might do flat black and then quick shine that. But this is great. I'm really excited here. I even put the little 440 back here so that when you're driving, you know what size engine you have. I don't know why that's even there, but it was cool, so I dropped it in. And I really like how this is coming together. Other than the little gaposis I have in this corner of the hood that I wasn't going to fill. It's just a little corner piece that's rounded. This thing lays in here really nice. Along with everything else so far that I've built, just lays in nice. So there's the body and the decals, and that was going to be at the end, but I was so excited to show everybody that we jumped right into it here. The next thing I did is I got the engine and the suspension and everything laid into the chassis. I'm shedding. You can see that's brown. That's because I did the color shift to get the yellow to look good. And like I said, my hands are even different color. But what I did here is got all my spark plug lines run. I am making out of a toothpick the coil because there's not one in the kit, and I'm going to lay the coil right in here on the intake. So I'm just waiting for that tan to dry so I can drill a hole in it, and I'll run the coil wire out and around and over. When you do your distributor, if you use an aftermarket, because this is an aftermarket distributor, make sure that it lays low enough to where your, and this thing's so hard to pick up, your filter will lay on there flat. Look at how brown that looks. It's not. It's really dead on the right colors. But make sure that you lay that in there on a far enough angle and far enough down and in that this will lay down there flat. I caught myself before I really screwed that up. So, but I got the distributor in and wired. I ran my fuel lines up and over. I ran them into the back, just made a little horseshoe out of solder. I drilled the little holes, 3 holes in there. I made this horseshoe, but before I put the horseshoe in, I brought the fuel line down and around, and I ran it into the center one. Then I just put the horseshoe in and have it touching this piece that comes across. Use a little drop of Mod Podge in there, and then hit that with my gold to make it look like a little brass T-fitting. And it worked out really good. Let me see if I can bring it up there. Camera, again, is not focusing that well, but I think that looks good enough. I'm happy with that. The alternator, I ran electric lines down and fed them down underneath everything and out the back. So it's got its power. I'm drilled for my PCVs, and I have to drill for the the booster for the brakes, and that just runs over and into the intake over here. So that's an easy one. I already have it drilled. The linkage, what I did is I ran a piece of solder straight into the center one. I drilled a hole for all 3 of them. I ran a little piece of solder in here and cut it off, sticking out far enough to where I could work with. And then I took another piece and I did just like I did with a fuel rail, but way up close to the carbs. And I made that little horseshoe, brought that down, laid it on top of the other piece of solder so it looks like it's all connected. And then I took my AWG 32 wire and made that little return spring in here. And I just brought that back and attached it to the back where the carb bolts onto the intake. And I'm good with that until I get this in the body. And then I'll also, right next to the carb where that little tiny nub is of solder that I left, I'm going to run my throttle link or my throttle cable down and in, and I'm just going to Hollywood it right up against the firewall, glue it on. That'll be perfect for that. The little Fram oil filter, I love that, or Fram, Mopar oil filter with the red, white, and blue. I love that. I've just painted flat white on there, and then put the decal on, and I think it looks really good. The clutch fan is in. The alternator looks great the way we painted that out with the copper, and then dry brushed over top of that just to show that the coils are in there. Again, I put my lines. Let's see if I can get that way up. Boy, I'm really pushing this camera to the limit. The lines on the belt, I did it on the top. Not sure, you can't really see them on the bottom, but I did it down there too. And what I used is my Prismacolor pencil. And you can see I sharpened it to a flat point. And I took that and just ran straight lines across to give that the marks on the belt look. And it's easy enough. I mean, it only took a second. And I think that adds a lot to those belts, and that's just painted rubber black first. So with that, we'll flip this over. I did 0 weathering to the bottom of this, because remember, this is going to be the new right off the truck or right out of the remodel. So it's as new as it can get. I did weather the exhaust just a tiny bit, but that was all. The brake and fuel lines that come back here, these are really brake lines, and I don't know why they split them across that way instead of V'd them in, but I just used my gel pen on that. I'm going to leave that go. This is going to be set on a base and never picked up again, so I just had fun painting it in there. I didn't run all the brake lines or fuel lines or anything like that because, again, it's never going to be picked up, and I wanted to keep rolling on this build to get everything wrapped up so I'm not into this like 10 updates. just trying to move on. The gas tank, painted it flat aluminum, let that dry overnight, and I came back and I painted semi-gloss black stripes on there for the belt or the bands to hold that on. Looks great. I still have to do a little weathering on my differential, but I wanted to get it in there, not differential, the universals. I just wanted to get it in there without forgetting to get it into the engine first, like I usually do. It's a one piece coming off of the rear end, so it wasn't a big deal. The rear end glued in there tight. I had to actually flex it a little bit to get this laid in, so I'm hoping that this sits on all fours. Just because of the way it flexed, I'm hoping it flexed even, but we'll see when I put it on. It might be a three-wheel stander, and then we'll have to deal with that, trying to horse this around a little bit, but what can you do? Did a little just highlight paint on the front steering linkage and on the sway bar and things like that, just for looks. And I was having fun when I had the aluminum out. So it's not right, but it looks good and it was fun to do. And again, it's going to be down this way in the display, so I'm okay with that. It's never going to be seen. I was just having a blast doing it. And with that, we'll move on. Get all this out of the way here. My tires are put together. Just did a real quick sanding on them because, like I said, these are fresh out of the showroom. I even thought about putting a little piece of white tape on there like they were brand new tires, but I didn't. We got our valve stem in, which is just 0.3 millimeter solder, painted semi-gloss black, drilled in at an angle, glued in, and then snipped off the back where it went proud. And then I'm messing around last night, and I even put wheel weights on all my insides. Again, you're never going to see it. I had the solder laying here and just snipped off a few pieces, pushed them into the rubber mat. that leaves a little round part with a flat on the back, so you can glue it on the flat and leave that little round part for the way the weights look. But these came out really good. I stripped them, painted them with Tamiya's Chrome Silver, and then just panel lined everything. And I'm going to leave it like this. I'm happy with that. It's going to look really good with this yellow. I mean, that looks sharp. So now the yellow looks pretty good. But it's going to look good there. And then last, and this is going to be a quick one, but there's a lot went on to get to where we are here. My interior is put together, and I couldn't be happier with the way everything came out. My dash, the inside I did on the gauges, just like I did the last time, where I painted everything, this was all painted flat black. And then I quick shined everything. Then I went in here with flat white, and I painted the gauges flat white, just solid in the bottom. And then I came back with panel liner and hit it with the panel liner, and that ran around all those numbers where you can dang near read them in there. And then I just took my little, I've had this forever, nano liner red, and hit the needles on everything and just gave them a little bit of red. The stick shift, man, it came out good. I painted that, the top of it I painted semi-gloss black, and then I came back with NATO brown and put the lines in there for NATO brown. Ran chrome all the way around with chrome silver, and then I let that dry, and then I came back and I painted the wood parts with my clear orange. And that, I don't know how good it looks on camera, but man, did that come out looking good. I'm very happy with that. The interior, when I put it down in there, I painted that little base part of the shifter chrome silver, and then put the rubber black on everything, and laid that in, and that gave it that little chrome plate that goes around the floor to hold the carpet in, and then the boot too. So that's really good. I was tempted. There's a little tiny 440 gauge, and I was tempted to put it in the dashboard right here. But then I'm thinking, you know what? That's going to be a pain to do now that it's in, because I didn't even do any decals until this was already built. If I ever make one of these again, I'll use that little tiny 440. I'll put that in here before I put this all together. If you're doing it, I think that'd look good. Probably never had one in there, but I just think it'd look cool in there. So there we go with the interior. It went together easy. One thing I did is it didn't like where this piece of plastic sticks out here. Let me see if I can get that a better shot. The door panel is supposed to go behind that, and you almost have to put it in this way and then pull it in and drop it down into place to get it to lock in. But then when I did that, the dashboard was pretty tight, so it almost has to stretch so it comes out and then down. So when you do this, put the panels in and let them dry hard, and then put your dashboard in so you don't pull that glue out. So it's just something to think about. It worked out very well for me. And we're getting pretty close to the nitty-gritty here. I still have a lot to do in the engine bay. When I painted the stripe, I painted the whole inside of the engine bay just semi-gloss. So my battery needs to be done. I haven't even drilled it out yet. My windshield wiper and overflow need to be done. I still have to drill out for my heater, the brake master cylinder. I don't even think I painted yet. Nope, it's sitting over there not painted. So that has to be done. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear coat all this first, just to seal in the decals. But I'm not going to clear it with I wanted to clear it with this. I was really thinking, yeah, we're going to use the Hydro Mist on this and just make this thing explode with clear. But then every picture I look at this thing, they don't have that super duper high gloss on them. It's just almost like it is right now. So I think I'm going to go with quick shine on this and just keep that a little more subdued. I just think that'll look more more proper than having that real wet look on here. Somebody must have just came home from school. The kid or the dogs are having a blast up there. So, but with that, like I said, this is going to be a quickie, but I think the next one will be this build all the way done, and then I'll do one more with the entire display. So I'm going to let you go here just so I don't hold you up too much. I hope you liked what you saw here. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, I really appreciate that. That sure does help the channel. But I will let you go. Y'all have a great day and a better tomorrow, and thank you very much for watching.